Mary Waldering. She said, on the surface, before I open the book, it seems to be about a family farm. Talking about Sisters of the Vine. I have plenty of childhood memories of visiting the farm where my mother and her 12 siblings grew up in South Carolina. And she's wondering if your book is about generational farming as part of the story.
In a roundabout way, you could say it is. It really is about a group of women who become a family, because also a theme that runs through my books is that blood is not all that makes a family. So these are women who become friends, and like sometimes you have friends that become your family, and these women become a family. But yet Liz's children do partake. Well, her daughter kind of fights it, but her son does. He likes it. So the kids are in there, but no, it's not generational, though. I do love reading generational books also.
Yeah.
But
I love that the cover already gave her that feel too, like the reminiscing.
It's a wonderful feeling. But this is more of a sisterhood, family kind of idea. So it's not generational farm, though I did write, oh my God, the word just escaped me. Not the prequel, what's the
word? Sequel? No, you said you don't do sequels. No.
A chapter after the book is over. I
might. Epilogue.
Oh, thank you. My mind just I wrote an epilogue, and that would make it more generational, though it never made it into the book.
Oh, wow.
I've been playing with the idea of putting it on my website, so I might at some point put it on my website.
Oh, if you do, please update us in the book club, because I'd love to read that.
I will. The epilogue that never made it into the book.
Ooh, that is so intriguing. I want to read it so bad now. That's so cool. Yeah.
I just may do that then. All right.
I'm intrigued. Next up is Claudia Ansel Reed. She would like to know how you got the idea for the story, if you worked with grapevines or just did a lot of research. She also went on to say, in many books, the characters tend to grow themselves as people and the story. So in this book, did they kind of grow, or was it plotted?
That's such a great question, and I have a big answer.
Yay.
Okay. Years after high school, I reconnected with a friend, and she was telling me about how she became the first woman winery owner with a woman winemaker in her region.
Wow.
I was so taken with her story that I said, I've got to write that. It needs to be written. And I started writing her story, and I was really hamstrung, if you mean, trying to keep to the truth. So then I changed the time period. I changed the locale. I fictionalized the characters. I came up with things that were not related to her life at all. And I just went on writing. So she was the inspiration, a real true story, which happened later than my period of time, was the inspiration for this book. So that's that answer. Did I play with grapes? I was very fortunate to go to her vineyard many times and stand in the vineyard. The book is set in the Hudson Valley region in New York, and I was up at vineyards there, and Clearview Vineyard was wonderful to let me come and stand in their grapevines and touch their grapes. And, both places I learned how to make wine. I would never attempt it. Don't ask me how. I put it in the book. That's enough. But I saw what you go through. Oh, and the scent of the grapes fermenting in the winery, in their tanks. Oh my gosh, it's such a heady scent. So I've never made wine, but I've stood in vineyards, and I've stood in, wineries and watched the winemakers making the wine. Yeah, it was a lot of research, but it was a lot of fun research.
Yeah, I love that you had some actual in-setting hands-on research too.
Oh yeah.
That's amazing.
And the high school friend was like my Google. I would go to her all the time when I had questions. And then, of course, I did research, and then the people up in the Hudson Valley helped me also. I love to have my feet in the research, just it makes it come alive.
Yeah. Is it hard for you to cut out some of the research? Because I know there's a lot of intake with research, and then it all just can't go in because then it'll just start to
Yeah,
feel like
yeah. And I'm in a
too much.
critique group, and they would say to me, enough, enough, enough.
It's hard though, because when you're passionate about a subject, you want to
Yeah,
just share it
yeah,
all in with what
yeah.
you're writing. So that's cool. That's really neat. So then we've got Bonnie Jean Yepsen Weinman. She wanted to know, do your characters ever move you away from the plot line, which I think is so interesting.
Okay, so that helps me. I forgot to answer the other part of that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, the characters grow. They lead me. In Sisters of the Vine, I had an idea how I was going to end the book, but I really wasn't sure. Liz honestly took me to that. But even more so in the disharmony of silence, what I had no idea how I was going to end this book. And I kept arguing with the character. It sounds so corny because before I started writing and I would hear an author say, well, the character told me what to do, I thought, oh, come on, you're writing the book, but it's really true. And they grow and take you somewhere else. And chapters appear in the book that you never thought about. But see, I don't outline. So I'm what's called a pantser, and I have an idea in my mind. So the character really does grow and does take me. And with the disharmony of silence, it was the character seriously who insisted on how the book ends. I was very satisfied with it. Somebody once asked me, is it a good ending? And I went, it's a satisfying ending. Some people think it's a great one. Some people are angry at her.
Oh,
They might have wanted something else, I've heard. To me, it's a very satisfying ending. It's what she needed.
oh,
But
I love that.
she told
Yeah,
me.
she led you to it. That's how she
Yeah,
needed her story to
yeah.
end.
She led me to it.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love that. I love when I hear authors say that too, because it does mean something different to every author about how their character kind of communicates with them and leads them through the story.
Yeah.
I think that's so
And
cool.
sometimes we're asked, I know I'm asked, did you know the ending when you started writing? Well, in Sisters of the Vine, I kind of knew, I didn't know how it was going to end, but I had an idea of what the ending was going to be. In the Disharmony of Silence, I really did not know until I was continuing to write it.
I love that. It just unfolded with you. That's so cool.
Yeah. And it's fun when the characters take you somewhere because you think you're going to write about something and then they really want something else. And you go with that, you know.
Does it make it hard for you to not want to write a series, like getting so entangled with these characters, or does it feel very complete when they get you to the ending?
Yeah, it does feel complete. For a while after Sisters of the Vine, I was thinking of writing Bobby's story. And then I thought, you know what? She's done. She's not talking to me anymore. She's done.
Oh, I love that. It just kind of neatens up and you feel
Yeah.
complete with it. I'm not all the way through Sisters of the Vine yet, but I know another character I'd love to know more about. I'm not sure how much we find out about her later is Rose. I loved her entrance into the book.
Oh, she's just a minor character, but you love her, don't you? She's
I
great.
do. The second she came in, I'm like, I love you. You're my people. Like,
She's just a fun character in there. I
yeah,
just loved her. Yeah.
it was really
No, she
cool.
doesn't appear very much.
No. Next up, we've got a question from Sharon. She noticed in your acknowledgments, you thank beta readers from a group called Spun Yarn, which she'd never heard of, and she was curious about what that is.
Okay, Spun Yarn is a paid for beta reader. Beta readers are people who will read your manuscript and give you feedback on all different parts of it and how they feel it's going and all different parts. That's all, is the character developed? Are they engaging? you know, is something lacking, that kind of stuff. So in spun yarn, they have specifics that they have to hit to get back to the author. And I use spun yarn for that. And it was interesting to see all the different comments and, feelings about the book. And then, as with any beta readers or any kind of comments, people helping you with your manuscript, you just have to take it, listen, digest, and decide what works for you and what doesn't work for you.
Yeah, that sounds like, I mean, beta readers I know are very important. How many people were giving you feedback from Spun Yarn?
I want to say there were, maybe it was 4, maybe 6, I don't remember. And with spun yarn, you can ask for an age group of the reader.
Oh,
Otherwise,
so you can go right for like target audience, how
yeah,
they would
yeah.
like it.
You can find, I mean, if any writers out there are interested, you can find them on the web. It's spunyarn.com or something like that. Yeah.
Their information came in pretty similar, or was it all across the map for you to take in?
It wasn't pretty similar. I mean, it really, if there were 2 that said the same thing, okay, I'm listening to this, but this one and that one and that one, no, that was a problem that I found. But I think that's the same way with a lot of beta readers. They, you zone in on what works for you and what you think the author needs to do. And, somebody else doesn't feel that way. That's why I say you have to read it and think about it. Don't just toss it out with a defensiveness about you. You have to really think about it and see what you can glean from everything to make your book better.
Yeah, everyone will resonate with it differently too. So that I think
Yeah,
it
and
makes it
that's the same
interesting.
once it's published. Readers resonate differently. I love that when I go into a book club and some of us liked the book and some of us didn't. That's always a better discussion than when everybody loved the book.
That's a good point, because then
Yeah.
you can kind of meet in the middle and you have so much to talk about.
And I learn more about a book that I may not have been thrilled about, and others talk about what they loved, and it's like makes me look at it differently. You talk to a friend about a book that you may have really liked, and somebody else said, well, I wasn't thrilled with that one, or I didn't like that character or something. You discuss it. And that's what I wanted to be with writing. I wanted my books to be discussable, or my characters to be discussable. Yeah, they're book club books.
Yeah. And you know what's fun too? I'm listening to your book through audio book. So I just found out from another reader that there's the book club discussion questions in the back. So it's interesting. This is only my second audiobook ever. So this is really exciting for me to listen this way and experience the story this way. But it's so funny to think about now, like, because usually I can flip through a book and be like, oh, cool, there are book club questions in the back or something like that. So it's interesting to kind of come across it as it goes. Do you have like a favorite discussion question that you love to hear what people think about your book?
With Sisters of the Vine, a lot of the questions come up about Rick. I don't even know if I have that in the back of the book anymore. I mean, if I put that in the back, but that was a discussion question because he's so bad. and but he's got a backstory about why he's like that. So he's a topic, and also it's really, I'll bring it in, it's the second phase of feminism, which is strong in this book. Because Liz is a 50s gal. She grew up in the 50s, and her dream was to get married and have a man take care of her because that's what she learned. And that was very typical of the 50s. You're going to get married, your husband will have a job, maybe you'll be a teacher or something you can fall back on after your kids are grown, but that was it. And she had to make that transition. And her younger sister is, more aware. And, I'm sticking back into that period of time. And Liz had to grow into being a stronger woman, and that she can do it, and she had her dream, and she can do it, and she didn't have to depend on a man, and women can do it. So that's a big topic. It's interesting because women of that time period relate to it, and we all have our own stories that we bring in. And younger women have told me that they were fascinated by it because they learned really more about women's lib, because that's when it was all beginning. It was the second phase of feminism. So that's a big topic there. In the disharmony of silence, though, a real big topic is secrets and lies. Is a secret a lie? Is a lie a secret? When is it a good thing to have a secret?
That is a fun discussion idea to talk about too.
Yeah.
I love both of those. Even with like the feminism topic, I feel like there's a whole new discussion to have about that in today's world too. So it's still so just poignant and
it's very current, even though it's in the 60s and my next book coming out, so it's very current. The same topics go on, and it's good for younger women to understand, to learn what their mothers and grandmothers went through.
Yeah,
what life
it
was
really
like.
does give you a whole different view of just life. And then you do have that great push and pull of, the younger sister kind of edging up more towards what we know. So it's really cool, like the way you've written that in and included the past and present and how timeless really your story is.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
One question I always love to ask, I have this thing before I read a book, I look up the main character's name to see what it means. And I just like to see if it kind of matches up with their personality. And it's okay if it doesn't, but I just am always so fascinated by it. So I looked up Liz, and it came up as Liz was a popular baby name in the mid 20th century and is a common nickname of Elizabeth, which means God is my oath. Liz is commonly a name used to evoke a country feel, informality, and strength. So I definitely think there's a lot in that description that goes in the name. And I was curious, is that something you looked up in advance, or did it just a happy coincidence?
Heather, I wish I could say I did, because that is so perfect. I always look up names for the period of time, and I wanted a popular name for her period of time. I wanted a name I could shorten. I wanted her father to even shorten it more. He calls her Lizzie, just to be endearing. I might have seen that it meant strength, or the what a country, or evoke country.
Yeah, I guess it's used a lot to evoke the feeling of country, a country feel.
Well, I love that, and I wish I could say yes. The only name that I did use, I think it was, well, Sandra's name changed, but I think when I was looking up that, it meant helper.
Oh.
So, but it may, I could be wrong. It may have been her original name, and then
okay.
But I named her because of helper.
I like that.
Yeah, but that's the only one.
Well, your other Liz is a happy coincidence. I didn't look up any of
I
the other
love
names.
that.
I usually do.
I love it. Love
yeah, I thought that was so perfect. There were multiple 5-star reviews talking about how the vineyard setting is almost, it's so well made. It's almost like a character in itself, which I think is so true. You also kind of have the tomatoes and stuff in there. There's all this farming that goes into it. How was it like just writing that setting so well that it feels like a character to people?
Well, the first time I stood on this hillside vineyard, I was just enveloped with it. I mean, the beauty of it. And then I had gone to others where I really could look out and see the Hudson River. And it just drew me in, and I fell in love with the vineyard. I love gardening. I planted my own tomatoes. I don't plant grapes. My tomatoes this year were awful, but I mean, I like getting my hands in the earth. So I think it was organic, just to use that word. It works so perfectly with earth, but it just happened to me because I just fell in love with the vineyard.
With all the great feedback, you have some really great reviews.
Thank you.
What what do reviews mean to you? Like, what is it like for you? Do you look at them? Do you not? I know it's always one or the other with authors.
Okay. I don't do either or. I will look occasionally. Of course, when the book first comes out, my heart's in my mouth. I'm pounding, oh my gosh, it's going to be a good one or not. It's a lot of fear at the beginning, and there's a lot of fear. You can't help it. I wanted my books to be loved by somebody, and I know not everybody's going to feel the same way about them. It's best not to keep going back and reading reviews. It really is best not to go looking for them, because they get you upset no matter how tough we are. We're human. I read some, and I'm really, truly blessed with the good ones, and I thank everybody. Reviews mean a great deal to authors, and that's why I, as a reader, review everything I read. I put it on Amazon, BookBub, and Goodreads. And I started doing that after I realized, when my first book was coming out, I realized how important reviews were. But if I really don't like a book, I'm not going to review it. I will not slam the author. I'll write, sometimes you just like a book for one reason or another, or you love a book. So my review will be that way, but I don't want to hurt an author. So I will never write something or give it 1 or 2 stars, because I just would rather not review it then.
Yeah. And I mean, they are so important. Even if authors don't check it, they're so important to have. And you mentioned Amazon, BookBub, and Goodreads. I wanted to make sure, are there any other sites and pages that will help you for us to post our reviews once we're done reading?
Well, I never put it in, I never mentioned barnesandnoble.com, but my book is available on barnesandnoble.com. It's even available on target.com.
Oh, that's so cool.
But I think Amazon, BookBub, and Goodreads are the ones most people go to. And the reason that the reviews are so important, well, Amazon has their own algorithms and what they figure out, and how high your book gets, and then how much they push it, and that kind of thing. So that's really important for sales, but it's also important for all 3 of them. Readers do read reviews, and if they're deciding on a book, your reviews could make them buy it or not buy it. So it's really important to have those reviews.
It sure is. Yeah. So that's perfect. I can't wait to finish reading your book and write the review and post it. So I'm going to give a little lead in. We have a last few questions. So for everyone watching, if you have not read all of Sisters of the Vine yet, these contain spoilers. These are from the members. They wanted to know some more. So if you stop watching at this point, please just remember to come back after you've read it, because these are some fun questions. I think this will be a really couple of cool discussion points. So anyone not continuing to tune in, thank you for watching. And we'll see you when you finish. Yes, thank you for coming. We'll see you when you finish reading, so you can hear the rest of this, because this is going to be fun. So something that I love about these questions, I felt them when I read the questions. They're so spirited about how they wrote about the characters. There's so much empathy for Liz, and there's so much just anger for Rick, and even Rick's family. Like, I felt it through the questions. And I just wanted to say, I think that is such a compliment to your writing, because
thank you.
When it makes you feel that much, that, then their questions really come in, like I could just feel it through their questions. Like, they're so into this story and these wonderful characters you've written. So I'm excited to hear what you have to say. So one last warning, if you haven't read the book, this is the chance to come back after you've read it. So spoiler question number 1. Sharon wanted to know, she said, in the story, I got the impression that Liz's in-laws were wealthy. When Rick's mother died, shouldn't she have left a nest egg for them to live on? Or was it that her son acted so entitled and superior that he gave it to charity or something?
Oh, he would never give it to charity. Are you kidding? He would have used it. Oh my gosh, no. He would have bought liquor with it. He was an alcoholic.
That's
no
true.
way. No way. Uh, and his mother was not the nicest person alive either, right? So no,
No.
there was never thought about what happened to her money. I really never gave it a thought. It was what happened to her ring that
The important
was
jewelry
more
piece.
important. Yeah, that
Yeah.
was what was more important, what happened to her ring and why he wanted it so, badly. And Liz knew what he was going to do with it. So, no, I actually never gave thought to the money that his mother had. Never thought about it, but she didn't give it to him. The mother knew him too. That's why the ring went to Liz, not to him.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, she'd rather have it go to her. Wow. Even for how like little she was in their lives. That's interesting to
Yeah.
think about.
But she
That
also hated the engagement ring that he gave her. If you remember that, the mother called that a little itty bitty thing. So give her this ring. She'll now have a decent ring.
so it's kind of her last like, well, I'm gonna get my way anyway.
Yeah.
That is so interesting. Oh, I like that. So this next one is from Bonnie Jean Yepes and Weinman again. And again, I just love the spirit. Like I can just feel the emotion in these questions. So she wrote this when she was on page 55. She was wondering if Liz's awful husband, Rick, is having an affair while she does all the work at the farm he insisted on buying. She had the he in bold. I loved it. I'm loving these questions. There's just so much feeling in it. And I'm really excited to hear you talk about this because you've done such a good job, even in the description of the book, kind of setting up that doubt and laying the groundwork for that storyline.
Keep reading. So it's a little tidbit, little crumbs. Keep reading. I'm glad it made her wonder on page 55. Got to keep reading to find out.
Got to keep reading. You don't want to give the spoilers.
You know that he was having an affair.
Yeah.
I mean, but by the end of the, he was having an affair.
Yeah.
So
you do such a good job of setting it up because, like I was saying, even in the description, like there was some kind of doubt there. The description of the book, finding something in the barn, I think, is in the description. And there was just something there that, like, when things happen in the book, it just clicks. The little pieces add up so well. And I don't know, there's just something about it. Like when she posted her question at first, there was someone who's like, oh no, a spoiler. And it just flows so nicely. I think even both of us were just like, oh no, is that a spoiler? Because you set it up so well. Like I'm fascinated with how well you put each detail into the story right from the start. What was that
so
like? Yeah. And
so
especially
much.
saying you don't thought like you.
And it's hard. You want to give tidbits. You have to drop hints, and readers will question. I know myself as a reader, if I'm questioning, so I don't want to know it all right away at the beginning. I want to question it to make me turn the page and find out more and more. Don't dump it all on me at the beginning. Then why do I have to keep reading it?
Right.
But it is I guess, and sometimes it was intentional how I would put it in, and sometimes it just sort of went in there, or and as I mentioned, I'm in a critique group, and I would read chapter by chapter to my group, and if they were catching on right away, it was like, oh, okay, I have to change something there.
And we were talking about Rick. Was it hard for you to write Rick's character because he really is just awful, like Bonnie says?
I had the most fun writing his character because I don't know anybody, thankfully, like Rick. So it was just so much fun to make that. But I was at a conference while I was writing the book, and one of the workshops I was in, the guy said, he was talking about bad character or nasty characters, or and he said, when you have somebody who's really awful in your book, you can't make him completely awful, him or her. And he used the phrase, don't judge, justify, which made me go back when I got home and really justify Rick. It helped me. I didn't have a backstory for him. I started out with him just being a nasty, bad one. But then I had to put it in how he didn't want to be like his parents. And when you have parents that are alcoholics, it can be genetic. There is that piece of it. So you have to be very careful. And he didn't want any part of that, but he became an alcoholic. And I also realized that Liz fell in love with him at one time. She did love him. So I had to go back to having that in there, that part of him that she fell in love with. So I put that stuff in about when they first met in college and, that whole thing. I think it's in the book so many times, rewrites. I don't remember what's in there now.
Yeah, there's enough reminiscing in there where you get that feel of like, yeah, there was a time when they loved you.
She fell for him. She loved him. Yeah. But even that, there were little signs about him when he took her to a winery one time for a wine tasting when she was underage, and he didn't care, So there were little bits about him in there.
I think that's why it's like I can feel, the other readers just like me, like how much the feeling comes through when reading for these characters, because you make them so real and relatable, and you have given them backstory and reasons for why they are the way they are. So I think that's really
That means
cool.
a lot. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
That really means a lot.
I love it. I love feeling their passion through those questions, because I felt it too. I'm like, yeah, these characters are so real. It's so easy to just get wrapped up in these questions and thoughts and storylines, and it's wonderful.
Thank you. Well, Heather, you have made my day. Made my day. And I love the questions that the group put in. I love the questions. And if there are any more, I guess they just throw them into
yes. So every Wednesday in our Facebook group, it's called What Are You Wondering Wednesday. So then, we can just make sure to tag you in the post with more questions, if that's okay with you, if you'll be on there. And
I will. Thank you so much. This has been a joy.
Oh, thank you. I've had so much fun chatting with you. Thank you so much for your time today.
Bye, everybody.